I'd like to introduce you to the epistemic assessment framework. Essentially, what this is a tool that will help you um, understand how knowledge works in chemistry and ultimately, therefore, do better in chemistry to give you a greater understanding of what you might be missing in terms of your engagement with chemistry. The categories of the different kinds of knowledge, which here is translated into different kinds of question we might ask you in a formal assessment, that would be a test or an exam, is given on the left-hand side here. So just running through them relatively quickly, the vocabulary is stuff that you just need to learn. So for example, knowing that Na is sodium would be one of those things that would fall within the vocabulary of chemistry. Now, in chemistry, that may also be understanding things like line structures and understanding what a chemical formula means. So there may be symbols involved there, and it may also be particularly like remembering the formula, a particular formulae. Simple procedures are then normally one-step calculations, simple things that you can do relatively easily. They're normally quite clear what it is that you need to do from the kinds of question. It doesn't require much thought, but you must know kind of what formula to apply or what approach to use in order to solve the problem. And again, there are different kinds of procedures will be appropriate to different kinds of chemistry. A complex procedure is just a slightly more difficult version of that, where there are probably 2 or 3 steps, and it may require some thinking through of exactly what you need to do. So that if you go across to the right-hand side, that those complex procedures and simple procedures are basically elements that test that you know how to approach things. And to be honest, most of your chemistry assessments are going to fall under this category, is the knowledge of how you can approach this. The level of principle is the level at which you actually understand the underlying principle. And this is then the movement to knowing why, knowing the chemical concept underneath the procedural knowledge. This is, of course, the level that we would like you to attain, and it's certainly the level that if you're going to use your understanding of chemistry for later parts of your degree, if you don't understand this underlying principle, you're probably not going to remember it, and you're probably going to have to come back and learn this element of chemistry again. So one of the reasons that you have to do chemistry as a first year is because different subjects, microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, all draw on elements of chemistry. Now, they don't all draw on all of the elements of chemistry that we cover, but it will be very difficult for you if you don't try to understand the underlying principle. You're going to essentially going to have to relearn this section of work when it comes to later years. And certainly if you're planning on continuing in chemistry, then you're going to get yourself into deep water pretty quickly if you don't aim at the beginning to understand the principle, because the principles in second year build on the principles that we have taught you in first year, and the principles in third year build on the principles taught in second year. So this kind of understanding that there is some kind of underlying principle is vitally important. And finally, where this all builds towards ultimately is this idea that you can then take this knowledge and apply it to a new situation, which may not be formulated in a way that is familiar to you. So these kinds of questions are quite difficult to ask in a closed book exam, but you may encounter them in some tutorials or other kinds of assessments that we give you. And it's really at that level of the capacity to engage, to use your chemistry in the chemistry that you have been taught in a particular way in a new area that you know that you've really got, you've understood it, and you will carry it with you for the rest of your life. So essentially what we've got here is a system whereby we will, on tests and exams, we will categorize the questions for you. And the good thing about this is that it then will help you to see where the gaps are in terms of your development. You can use this for yourself in terms of figuring out kind of assignments that are given to you along the way. But in a test or an exam, you'll be able to see this in a particular way. So the crucial thing here is that if you're getting around about 60% and you've missed all of the vocabulary questions, then it's quite easy for you to improve your marks. All you need to do is to learn the vocabulary. And much of the vocabulary that you require for any given course will be embedded in the core knowledge component. If, however, you've got all of the vocabulary down, you've got some simple procedures and some complex procedures, but none of the principles, then you know that actually you haven't really understood anything, and chances are by the time you may well pass chemistry, but you're probably not going to be able to draw on it at any later stage when you need it. So it's really a question of, well, what do you want to do? It's also the question is if you want to improve your mark for any reason, and you realize that you're missing out on the principal questions or the new problems presented to you, that you have to work in depth at understanding what it is that you need to understand.